We're at the Maldives again. I love this place. Beautiful. Anyway, I think it's alarming. I've talked about this a couple of times. I think it's alarming not only the hatred that men have for women, but I've told you before that the majority of men are narcissistic. They're used to their families kissing their ass. They're used to society kissing their ass. They're used to their job kissing their ass. They're used to their boss giving them a severance package just because he's a man. Men will help each other lie for each other. They will help each other have affairs. Men are just put on a pedestal. Prices for the same thing are a lot cheaper for a man than a woman. Something will be $100 and something for a woman, but if it was designed for a man, it would be about $15. Okay, so there's so many things. There's men get paid more for the same job as a woman. That's never going to change. There's so many things that are in men's favor, and it just shapes and molds them. In addition to improper, they weren't taught to respect people when they were younger. They weren't taught to control their urges when they're little, and when they're teens and they're starting to get urges. They need to learn how to have self-respect. They need to learn how to have respect for other people, and they need to be taught how to control their urges. And none of this is taught to them because they just are thrown out willy-nilly and they do as they please. They come home when they want to. They may or may not have a curfew, but the families ride the hell out of the girls. They put them into slavery, mop, clean, cook, do laundry, so-called under the pretense of teaching you how to be a wife. And it's just so that the parents could sit on their ass and have a slave in the house. Women are slaves. It doesn't have anything to do with being taught to be a wife. That's your personal slave. Whereas he gets to sit on his ass while his sister slaves, and he gets to play video games. So obviously this isn't every scenario, but it is a very common thing. And because you see proof of their narcissism everywhere, all up and down the internet, narcissists love negativity. They love darkness. They love hatred. They love fighting. They love arguing. They love everything dark and gloomy. When you know that most of them are like this, ladies, when they start getting on their narcissistic tirade, ignore them. The typical stupid rhetoric. I don't like no weaves. I don't like no lashes. I don't like no nail polish. I want my woman 100% natural. Listen, bitch, she's not your dog on a leash. Let's get that straight. Adults can do what the fuck they want to do. If they want to have a multicolored 25-foot flame of hair sticking straight up in the air and has so much hairspray on it that it could catch fire if someone were to light a cigarette or something, that's her fucking choice. It is none of your goddamn business what women do. We don't give a shit about what your rules, your regulations. You pound your fist on the table. Nobody gives a shit. That is the reason why women are 4B, because they are sick and tired of you trying to be their daddy. Positive, healthy, non-narcissistic men don't give a shit what you do with your hair. They don't give a shit what you do with your appearance or piercings or tattoos or whatever it is. They don't give a shit because they know that is all on the outside, and that has nothing to do with who you are on the inside. A healthy man will give you a compliment, regardless whether you have lashes or you have hair on, extensions or whatever. And it's pretty funny because, black men in particular, they never, ever, ever complain about white women wearing weaves. Never. Never. Do you think celebrities all have super thick hair? Don't be stupid. They wear weaves. They wear extensions. They don't have a problem with them doing it, but they got a problem with black women of color or black women doing that. They got real beef with it. Mind your fucking business. Mind your fucking business. Stop trying to treat grown people like a fucking child. She's not your child. And if you want to hump her like she's an adult, but treat her like a child, you might actually be a pedophile, which means you should be arrested. If you got a thing for children, sick. Oh, I am so fucking tired of their bossiness. I am so sick and tired of their control, their obsession with domination. And not only that, but because they're narcissists, that's why they're so goddamn negative. They're a waterfall, a Niagara Falls of negativity because they're sick, because they are narcissistic, and because they are unhappy with themselves. And they take the unhappiness that's within themselves and they spew it out into the atmosphere like verbal vomit. We don't give a shit what you think. We don't give a shit about your opinion. There was a guy on TikTok and he was fine. I ain't gonna lie, he's fine. And I normally don't like Islander men because a lot of them are control freaks also. They can be domineering. It's a cultural thing, I guess. I don't know. But there was one guy who was sexy as hell, and he's actually from the islands. I can't remember which one. But he was sexy as hell. And I'm going to tell you what made him sexy. He was married before, so he is able and capable of having a long-term marriage. He didn't dominate his wife. It wasn't a concentration camp in his home where he is in charge of everything. It was a loving marriage, and they had children. And unfortunately, his wife died, and I think she died of cancer. But he looks at how he says, I feel for you women. Because I see how toxic men are. I don't know what their deal is. I don't know. And this is coming from a man. He said, I don't know what the deal is with, they got beef with her makeup and her hair and her lashes. And he said, I really don't give a damn about none of that. You know why? Because at the end of the day, all that comes off and I get to see what's underneath. That was the sexiest comment. He said, I'm a silverback. He is a strong, masculine man, but he doesn't feel the need to dominate other people's appearance and tell grown-ass people, what they can and cannot do. He doesn't do that. He is sexy-fast sexy, okay? Control ain't cute. Not only do these mofos want to control and dominate because they're so goddamn insecure and they're sick in their head, but they constantly move the goalpost. So even if you're one of those people whose partner is twisted that way, and you tiptoe on eggshells trying to always please them, you can't. You can't. Because they always move the goalpost. You can never reach the finish line because they always move the finish line. That is why these toxic ass, negative spewing males, need to be ignored. 4B movement all the way. No dating, no getting involved with nobody, no sexy time, no marriages, no babies, none of that. You hate us anyway. You hate women of color anyway. You don't never tell a white woman, hey, get that weave out of your hair. I like natural. Mind your damn business. Mind your business because you're not going to stop it. Women love hair. We love makeup. We love everything girly. If you got a problem with it, go date other men because they're not into any of that. Actually, let me backtrack. That's not true. So men are hypocrites. I'm so glad I said that. Men are hypocrites. Hypocrites. And I'll tell you why. My jaw hit the floor when I saw men on YouTube wearing lace fronts. Their hair was long, wavy, and all the way down their back, and that wasn't their hair. They purchased it. But it's okay if a man does it, right? But if a woman does it, that's taboo and the worst thing ever, and she hates herself, and she hates her hair, and she's got, self-image problems, and she should go to therapy, and what's wrong with her? But if a guy does it, you just hear crickets. There's silence. Interesting. Men also, especially if they're balding, they will have weaves put in. Oh, we're going to go there, god dang it. I have seen men at this, I don't know what you call it, if it's a salon or what, I don't know. But they will have hair glued to their scalp wherever the hair is missing. And this particular hairstylist did a great job. You would never know that was not his biological hair. She did a fantastic job. Do men condemn other men for doing that? Hell no. Do they condemn white women for doing it or any other culture? Hell no. Do they sit here and gripe about celebrities doing it? Hell no. They sitting there with their tongue hanging out, looking at the half-naked celebrities on stage, like, oh my God, she could have hair down to her damn ankles. He don't have a problem with it because he sexualizes her anyway. They're hypocrites. If they wear hair, it's okay, but if you do it, that's an abomination. Women, ladies, ignore them. As soon as they start spewing that stupid toxicity, ignore them. There is no more time for any more conversation. His head is stuck on stupid. There's nothing you're going to do to fix it. He's a sick person. He is a sick person, and he's a goddamn hypocrite because he sits here and pretends that he doesn't see when other men do that. When other men get surgical implants, needles, and hair sewn into their, or whatever they sew into their scalp, they pretend they don't see none of that. Men have a free pass. Men have a free pass. They can do exactly as they want. You, on the other hand, are just a low life female. You're a dirty woman. Therefore, we gonna hit the gavel on the desk and we're gonna tell you what you don't need to be doing. And my wife she don't do this and I did. Who cares? Then you and your wife go over there and mind your fucking business. If she's stupid enough to tell you how she need to have her hair, she's gonna obey you. Y'all deserve each other. Okay? Y'all both deserve each other. But my God, the spewing of the hatred. Shut the fuck up and go get a goddamn hobby. Go get a hobby. Because spewing negativity and having a mic in your ugly face is not helping you at all. It's just advertising how sick you are. And we already know how sick you are. That's why we don't bother with your asses. And ladies, let me tell you something else. And I'm going there. Okay? Ladies, please consider, if you haven't already, please consider dating outside of your race. If you are a woman of color, a black woman, or a woman of color, period, leave these black dudes alone. Leave them the fuck alone, because too many of them are poisonous. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that white guys are not poisonous, but they don't spew the same shit. I've dated in the past mostly white guys because black guys were stupid and horny and bold with their horniness. Very bold. White guys want sex too, and they don't mind getting laid on the first date. They prefer it. But they're not as aggressive about it. They don't stare you. I've not had this personally, okay? I've not had them stare me up and down like I'm steak on a plate. They're not as brazen with it, okay? And I have never, ever, me personally, I can't speak for other people's, what they've been through. But me personally, I have never experienced white guys telling me what to do with my hair, makeup, and everything else. That's strictly a black thing. And it's so repulsive and it's such a turnoff. Ladies, date men from other cultures. Leave them fools alone. Please expand your horizons. Make sure you date outside of your race. Make sure you date other cultures. Make sure you date other ethnicities, because if one group of people, most of them are poisonous, it's time for you to, either A, leave their asses alone, or B, date outside your culture, because what's in your ethnicity circle is not worth two pennies you can rub together. And when you see so much of their hatred everywhere you turn, hate, 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 hate. There is zero incentive to date any of their asses. Unless there's one that's an exception. I ain't met the exception yet. And I ain't no spring chicken. I ain't never met no exception. The dude that I said is sexy, he's a chocolate guy, and I don't bother with chocolate men. Because most of them are just super horny and they act aggressive about sex. Aggressive, I mean aggressive about it. I can't stand that. I'm not a deer. I'm not a rabbit. I don't want to be hunted. I've said that for years. That ain't cute. That ain't sexy. That's yucky. Because you're doing the same thing to everybody else. You wonder why HIV is running rampant. Because you fools can't keep your damn pants up. And you still keep going. Ew. You're a walking petri dish of every bacteria there is because you're stupid and nasty and gross. Girls, ladies, please date outside your ethnicity. Leave black guys alone. If you meet one that's decent, good for you, but don't you even think that that's the norm, because it is not. They are twisted, they are narcissistic, they are negative, they are controlling, domineering. Being involved with them is just like being in a concentration camp. They're constantly telling you what you can and cannot do. I mean, their aggression with their abuse is out of control. And obviously, white men can be, and men of other cultures can be extremely dangerous too. So you have to be very careful who you get involved with, period. But if you have a culture that is overrun with darkness and negativity, it's time for you to expand your horizons, my dears. Love you guys. Talk to you later.